So I've done great things in my life. I have. But then somehow they stopped, and I feel like I live a mediocre life now. I wasn't born for mediocre.
A couple months ago, I set out to create a YouTube series called Quest. The idea was simple: find one person and document their coaching journey in real time. So I put out a call to the internet. At first, nobody showed up. The idea of doing this in public was too scary for most people. But eventually, applications started coming in. And around that same time, I found an old notebook with something that I'd written to myself 4 years ago, which led me to expand my vision of Quest to include 4 people. One of the people who applied is a 44-year-old woman named Vanessa. So we set up time to explore if Quest was a fit for her. And during that conversation, I asked her to tell me more about this one thing that she had written in her application that stuck in my mind.
When I tell you I feel like I was born for greatness, I believe that. I achieved a lot of great things in my life. I came from Peru all by myself when I was 17. And those were the hardest years of my life because, I was 17, I was a kid. And then I was by myself, here in the US with a different language, different culture, different weather. And I miss my family so much. I was so lonely, and I went to college by myself, and I found my ex-husband, my daughter's dad, and did crazy things out of loneliness, but survived a horrible divorce, was able to bring my brother and my mother to this country, got my brother through college myself. I worked, I think, 5 jobs to be able to make that happen. I raised my daughter, I was still in college. I got my MBA. I had decent jobs, I raised her well with help of my mom and with the help of my brother too. But financially, I was the one carrying all that. Whatever I did, with my daughter, she's such a good person. She's the best person that I know. Her heart, her kindness, she's my biggest blessing. And I contributed to that. So I've done great things in my life. I have. But then somehow they stopped, and I feel like I live a mediocre life now.
Yeah, here you are, you're kind of at that point where you're moving into this second half of life. That's a big turning point for people. Often the responsibilities and the things that required so much of us before begin to relax just enough that there becomes this space for you to start to hear what it is you're meant to do in this second half of your life. And that journey often for people, especially people who use the kinds of language that you're saying, like this feeling, which I will want to spend more time going into, but this feeling of I'm meant for something big or I'm meant for something more. In my language would be like, that is your soul speaking to you saying, yes, like you're right. And now it's about finding where that's trying to pull you into.
Yeah.
So Vanessa, this, like for me, this feels really right. I think we should do this together.
Yes. And I want to thank you because who wants to spend time trying to make another person better? It's rare. So thank you.
So it was on, and the first of my 4 spots for Quest was officially filled. It was a surreal moment for me that this call that I'd felt going back 4 years was finally coming to fruition. I felt gratitude, I felt excitement. I also knew there was a ton of work ahead. During that first conversation with Vanessa, I asked her to tell me more about what it means to her to live a truly great life, and also what she wanted her quest to be about. She told me she had 3 aspirations. The first had to do with health.
Success would be to get healthy again. Not that I'm sick. I am not sick. I'm not unhealthy, but I am overweight.
The next had to do with love.
I have not dated at all for 8 years, I would say. For 8 years, I realize now that I've been closed off. I want to change that.
And the last had to do with work.
Career-wise, I still feel like I lost my freedom.
Health, love, and career are three of the biggest aspects of life. And that's a lot to tackle at once. So Vanessa and I agreed to focus first on health and love. So with Quest officially underway, I got busy assembling a package of recording gear to send to Vanessa, and also a tutorial video on how to set up and use that equipment. And the two of us scheduled our first coaching session. And when we sat down for that conversation, I asked Vanessa to begin by telling me more about her previous journey with respect to health and weight loss.
I've never been this big before. In my whole life, the first 35 years of my life, maybe more than that, I wasn't this big. But I grew up thinking I was big. That's how my mom raised me, don't eat this, don't eat that, you're going to get fat, you're going to gain weight, blah, blah, blah. So I had it in my mind that I was always thick, fat, big, when I wasn't. When I moved to Chicago, I had a breakup with somebody that I really didn't see a future with. But for some reason, the breakup affected me a lot. So much that I started eating, like uncontrollably. Like I would eat Chipotle like 2 times a day for like 5 days a week. Big portions too. And then I started feeling depressed, and I started thinking, okay, there's nothing left for me. The only purpose that I have in life is to be my daughter's mom. That's my whole purpose right now. Vanessa as an individual does not exist anymore. Not that I said those words to myself, but that's how I remember feeling. So that's what I did, and I started gaining weight and weight and weight. And I ended up getting up to 220 something pounds. And then one Christmas, my brother, he had started working at Shred 415, and he gave me a gift certificate to Shred. And in the card, he said, I want you to use this and become the happy woman that I always knew, the happy woman that you always were. And those words, that he wrote with his handwriting, I still have the card with me. I'm always going to keep it. And the gift certificate that he gave me changed something in me. And I was able to accomplish one of the, hardest things I've accomplished in life, 5 months, very dedicated, 60 something pounds. It was surprising to everybody, and they wrote articles in like blogs and like a couple of newspapers, and they documented it in a few places because it was something big. After that, I dated somebody that, again, I didn't want to date, and the person insisted. And then the relationship ended, and then this whole thing started again.
Going back to the breakup, the first breakup that you said, it wasn't a relationship that you really saw going anywhere, and yet it really had an impact on you. What was that impact?
I think that the fact that I saw him, not up here, but let's say here, and he broke up with me. If somebody mediocre is breaking up with you, maybe I took it as, okay, then you're worth nothing. But that person, what I loved about the relationship is that he was a musician, and we would go out, and while he would play, I would dance, because he was a Latin musician. So I would dance salsa all night long, and my happy place is the dance floor. All my troubles and sores and everything goes away when I'm dancing. And then when we broke up, I stopped going out completely.
When you were with him, or when you chose to be with him, was there any feeling that you can identify around like unknowingly settling, like I'm settling for this person? And did that feel like, I mean, did it feel safe? Did it feel like, how, like what was behind that?
It
for you, do you
felt
think?
it felt familiar because I've always felt like I'm settling for the person that I'm with my whole life.
And why do you think that is?
I think I'm trying. It has from the therapies that I've talked through my whole life. We've pinpointed that I have abandonment issues. Right, my dad left. So my dad left when I was 3. I think I remember holding onto his leg when he was leaving, like that day that he actually left. So I think I try to replicate that. Right, I hold on to somebody that I know is gonna leave, whether he leaves on his own or I push him away because I don't like them. And it's just creating what was familiar, being abandoned.
So, just from where you sit right now, when you think about going on this journey right now and focusing on health and opening yourself up to love, maybe just take the health one first, because you did that before. If you had to say, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you believe right now that you can do this, that this is possible and that you're going to do this? Where are you at on that scale right now?
I think that's the problem because my daughter keeps telling, like I tell her, okay, I'm going to try it again. I hope it works. So there's definitely a lot of doubt and maybe even certainty that I won't do it. Maybe that's what it is.
There's a couple things that I had coming up in me. I sat a lot with our last session, and you had said that you felt like you were living a mediocre life, and that you weren't born for mediocre, that you were born for greatness.
Yes.
And I wanted to connect back to that because even as you were describing to me all these incredible things that you had done in your life, moving yourself, moving your family, putting your family through school, your daughter, raising your daughter, like all these things that are just like these remarkable things that some people like you couldn't even fathom, like working 5 jobs just to like pay for yourself and your brother to go to school and all these things. And there's like a common element to these things, which is that you have this capacity in you, and where it has come alive so clearly is when it's for other people, when you're caretaking for other people. And that one time that you had this amazing health journey and you lost 60, but you did something that like people are writing about in like magazines or blog posts or things like that, was like a one example of that was reversed, and that you were doing that and directing that and allowing that and giving yourself permission. And that the thing that unlocked that was actually feeling cared for by somebody else.
Yeah.
That was like the roles reversed. You have been the caretaker for everybody else, so much so. And you've done like a remarkable, amazing, beautiful job. And that is like an incredible thing. And what now I want to happen, and this is part of like how like I am emanating this to you, is like, now let's like let you be the recipient of that care. Like, and you give it to yourself because you deserve it, Vanessa. You have done so much. You've done incredible things in this life for other people. You deserve that for yourself. And so I believe, and right now, if that's the place to start, is to say, it's okay. You can have some doubts for now. Like there's no, you're not breaking any rules, having some doubts, but I believe that you can do this because I've seen the strength and the power and all of these incredible things. Like, I know that that is in you, and it's still in you. And so it's really more about allowing it. It's more about the permission to receive that and to let yourself receive that even from yourself.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense that
what's coming up for you as you take that in?
I haven't had that. I haven't had anybody to show that they care in a long time. I haven't had that in a while. And it's probably why every time my brother says goodbye to me and he says, I love you, he doesn't say it very often because it's just not something that we say every day, but when I visit him and when I see him and we hug goodbye, he says, I love you. That breaks my heart in a good way, hearing those words, because I don't hear those words very often. And I don't, you put it into words perfectly, and it's, I don't know, it's bringing up emotions. I'm sad. I don't necessarily know where it's coming from, because it's not like I have a family that loves me, so I don't know where the disconnect is, and I know that they love me. And I think something is there that maybe I don't feel cared for, and even though it's there and I know it's there, maybe I don't feel it. And having you said that moved a lot of things inside.
There's something about beginnings, when you can feel something opening up. I feel it in Vanessa, and I feel it in myself. I don't know where all this is going to lead, but I understand something that I hadn't until right now. Why it is that I felt drawn to calling this quest. There's a moment you experience in life where you're faced with a choice of whether or not to say yes to something you know has the potential to change you, and maybe even to change everything. That moment is the beginning of your quest.